Hello there guys, welcome to one of my live videos, and on this video there's lots to negotiate about. So I am going to be giving you the latest news regarding Massmilanio Allegri. Also going to be giving you a bit more additional information regarding Pogba, because obviously a lot of Manchester United fans are infuriated with what his agent Mini Raiola has come out and said regarding the player. Also going to keep up to date of what's going on with Jadon Sancho, because more additional information is updated about him. And also going to keep you up to date of what's going on with James Maddison. But we'll delve into all of them topics a bit later on in the video. I am going to start with Massmilanio Allegri. So I was reading a lot of reports from the mainstream media yesterday, and it did say that Man United are in pole position to recommend Massmilanio Allegri in to replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Manchester United. Obviously, reports were coming out from the Italian press. I think this was a couple of days ago, saying that allegedly Massmilanio Allegri had agreed to take charge of a Premier League club in the summer, but now reportedly he's the favourite to take over at Manchester United, is Massmilanio Allegri. Now, obviously, there was a lot of talks about this earlier on in the season, about Massmilanio Allegri becoming Manchester United's next manager. Now, obviously, Massmilanio Allegri has been linked with a few managerial roles. There also has been talks about him, making a return to Juventus, because I think Maurizio Sarri is under pressure at Juventus, and there's a lot of Juventus fans that do want, Massmilanio Allegri back, but he isn't going back to Juventus. I think he's also been linked with a managerial role at PSG and AC Milan. Don't forget, he's a former AC Milan manager. But, if Man United do decide to sack Solskjaer, then I think, we will make a move for Massmilanio Allegri this summer. But I don't think, we will appoint him in until the end of the season. Massmilanio Allegri has been managerless, since the end of last season, because if you do remember rightly, he did resign as Juventus manager at the end of last season. He enjoyed a 5-year tenure with Juventus. He won 5 Serie A titles. I think he won 4 Coppa Italians, and he also progressed Juventus to 2 Champions League finals. But Juventus lost both of them finals. And I think in total, he managed 271 games for Juventus and won 191. But, there was reports coming out, like I mentioned, revert back to what I said about this earlier on in the season. And, it said that, he was interested in taking over at Manchester United. And he said, he wanted to bring Patrice Evra as one of his coaching staff. He wanted, I think at the time, he wanted to bring Mario Mandzukic in and all of that. But then obviously, the rumours had died down. But all of a sudden now the rumours are back, regarding Massmilanio Allegri. So do you think he would be the right manager for Manchester United? Obviously, Massmilanio Allegri has been learning English for quite some time now in preparation for his potential move. But he's actually never managed in the Premier League as Massmilanio Allegri. Obviously, up until this point, he has spent the entirety of his managerial career in Italy. He also spent the entirety of his playing career in Italy as Massmilanio Allegri, but he has got a pretty decent pedigree behind him. So if Man United do decide to recommend Massmilanio Allegri in, he will be our 5th permanent manager since the Alex Ferguson era, because obviously, Solskjaer's our 4th permanent manager at the moment, and obviously we've sacked 3 managers since the Alex Ferguson era. Of course, we sacked David Moyes after 10 months. Well, it was 9 or 10 months. We sacked Louis van Gaal, despite the fact he, won the FA Cup. And we sacked Jose Mourinho after he enjoyed a 2.5-year tenure at the club. So, yeah, I think, Man United will, get rid of Solskjaer. I think, if we fail to qualify for the Champions League, or fail to qualify for any European football this season, then I think, Solskjaer will be gone at the end of the season. Because don't forget, he came out the other day saying that if Man United fail to finish within the top 6 and we don't qualify for any European football, then Man United did confirm that it's likely that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be sacked as Manchester United manager. We have enjoyed our worst start to a Premier League season for 30 years. And, since Solskjaer got the job on a permanent basis, we have lost more games in the Premier League than we've won. So that just indicates how inconsistent Manchester United have been. And I do feel as though, from my own perception, Solskjaer has had long enough at Manchester United. He has been here over the year. He's been permanent boss now for around 11 months. And, he was saying at the beginning of the season, wasn't he, beginning of the year, sorry, that, it is a transition period and he's hopeful that we can get through this transition period. But he has got many expectations to exceed. But I just feel as though that the expectations are too high for Solskjaer at Manchester United, because I haven't seen any improvements under Solskjaer, except from the 3 months when he was the interim manager. I haven't seen any improvements under him than what I saw under Mourinho, Louis van Gaal and David Moyes. But, he's not the right man, to take the club forward. Some United fans have got different perceptions on it. Some United fans, would still give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at least another season at the club, because this is only his first full season at Manchester United. But he isn't the right manager for Man United. He's Solskjaer. Like I mentioned, very, very good player. But I think as a manager, he's totally comparison. He's too inexperienced as a manager. But there's not only problems with the management at the club anywhere. There's various issues at the club, that do need to be addressed. And, like Fred was recently saying, the issues at Manchester United, there's problems the way the club's being run. We've got doubts by Ed Woodward. We've got doubts about the club's ownership. We've also got doubts about the board. There's still a lot of deadwood at Manchester United, so take that into account. But for us, to elevate forward, we need to obviously make more signings in the summer transfer window. We need to change of manager, and that is, to start with and that. But with Massmilanio Allergi, I don't know if he would be the right manager for Manchester United. Revert back to what I said, because I don't really know. I don't really know much about him, to be quite honest with you. Don't forget also Mauricio Pochettino has been on our agenda for quite some time. Don't forget we was in for Mauricio Pochettino after the sacking of Jose Mourinho in December 2018. This is when we should have recommended Mauricio Pochettino in after the sacking of Mourinho. So we did make a mistake by not recommending him in at that point. We've been long admirers of Pochettino. But obviously, we decided to recommend Solskjaer instead of Mauricio Pochettino. And, let's be honest, in the first place, Solskjaer was lucky to get the interim job. And obviously, reflecting on what he did when he was the interim manager, obviously he got the job on a permanent basis. Obviously, he signed a 3-year deal, and now he's got currently 2.5 years left on his deal. But we should have got Pochettino in after the sacking of Jose Mourinho on that. And maybe now, we may not get Pochettino in at the end of the season, because Pochettino did indicate out, that he's interested in taking over at Manchester United. He did say, reflect on his sacking from Tottenham last year, that he wanted an immediate return to management, but he's keen on continuing in the Premier League because Pochettino is well Premier League proven. So far, he's managed 2 Premier League clubs. He endured 5.5 years with Tottenham. Don't forget, progressed Tottenham to their first ever Champions League final last season. He endured a very short tenure with Southampton. I think guided Southampton to their highest ever finish. And actually before that, he was at Southampton. So Pochettino's managed 2 Premier League clubs, but in total he's managed 3 clubs. So if he was to come to Man United, that would be the 4th club he's managing in his managerial career. But I like Pochettino a lot. My only element of concern I've got about Pochettino is that he hasn't won out in terms of silverware. But, he gave his overarching run, that Pochettino, and he said his Tottenham legacy was more important than winning trophies. But obviously, if I had to choose out of Pochettino, Massmilanio, Allergi, in terms of, the experience in the Premier League, obviously, it would be Mauricio Pochettino, because Pochettino's managed in the Premier League, Massmilanio Allergi is not managed in the Premier League. But, we may not get Pochettino in now anywhere, because obviously, City are banned from the Champions League for the next 2 seasons, for breaking financial fair play rules. City have been fined £25 million for this, and now that means 5th place is a Champions League spot. This is what it means. And City, obviously have appealed against the decision. They've thrown a lot of money, at the appeal, and the appeal will be a long process. So, obviously, Pep Guardiola could leave Manchester City in the summer, and quite a few of their key players, could be moved on. So Pochettino could actually, take over at Manchester City in the summer, believe it or not, if Pep Guardiola does decide to walk away. Because obviously, Pep Guardiola, wants to win the Champions League with Man City, because the Champions League is, City's ambition, because that's the only trophy they haven't won. They haven't won it in their history of Man City. And there's also reports saying that, Man City, could have points deducted from them in the Premier League, But that's not the adequate punishment. Like I said, the punishment is the ban from the Champions League for the next 2 seasons. Guardiola obviously said anywhere that, he could be sacked as Man City manager, if they don't win the Champions League this season. They have got a very, very tough game against Real Madrid. Guardiola now is into his, 4th season at Man City, like I mentioned. He's still regarded as one of the best managers of all time. His Guardiola reflects on his success. He's won a hell of a lot of trophies in that. He's won 7 trophies with Man City. They won the domestic treble last season, the title the season before. And yeah, like I said, City haven't built a great club. Let's be honest, they haven't built a great club. They've built a great squad. And they've also invested a lot of money in the past 4 or 5 years or so. And this is the main explanation why they've been so good in the last 4 or 5 years. But yeah, they are banned from the Champions League for the next 2 seasons. And I did say that could change a lot, regarding Man United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I said it could save Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job. But now maybe this could be the reason why we've now moved in for Massmilanio Allergri, because there's a possibility, chance now that Pochettino could go to Manchester City, possibly. But it's very, very good news for a lot of teams out of the top 4. It's good news for Man United and Arsenal and Tottenham and Everton and Sheffield United that, Manchester City have been banned from the Champions League for the next 2 seasons. But yeah, so that's your latest news, regarding Massmilanio Allegri and everything else. Now I'm going to delve into the topic regarding, Paul Pogba. Let's now talk about that. So, Paul Pogba's agent, Mini Raiola, has come out and said quite a few stuff regarding Paul Pogba. He's come out and said, Paul Pogba did not join the club to not challenge for titles. This is one of the things he said. He also said it's likely that Paul Pogba will depart the football club this summer. This is what his agent, Mini Raiola, said. If Manchester United failed to finish in the top 4, and obviously if we don't qualify for the Champions League. And actually, he has reiterated that Juventus is his preferred destination. Now, his agent, Mini Raiola, has infuriated a lot of Manchester United fans. He's revealed that he's held talks, with Juventus ahead of a potential move for his client. This is what, his agent, Mini Raiola, has said. And we know that Paul Pogba is going to leave the football club in the summer anyway, because he's already told his teammates, his Paul Pogba, that he does want to, leave Manchester United this summer. The Daily Mail reported the other day saying that we wanted around £83 million for him. That's £6 million less than what we paid for him. His agent, Mini Raiola, also said as well, he told Sky Sports, was it the other day, that, Italy is his second home. But yeah, I think he'll probably will make a return back to Turin, because Paul Pogba did enjoy 4 good years with Juventus. But, since he rejoined Man United in 2016, the vast majority of his performances have been totally comparison. Obviously, reflecting back last summer, Paul Pogba was relentlessly linked to a move to Real Madrid, but his move to Real Madrid didn't materialise last summer, reflecting on the substantial amount we put on him, because, we wanted was it 150 or 160 million? Real Madrid were not determined to pay that. But Paul Pogba did reveal last summer that he wanted to leave Manchester United. But yeah, if he doesn't go to Juventus in the summer, I think he will go to Real Madrid. Obviously, hasn't played in the vast majority of our games this season due to injury. Pogba's only featured around, 8 times this season. Hasn't started a game from the start since September. Hasn't played overall since Boxing Day. He's, recovering well 1 month after the surgery on his ankle, is Pogba. He's recovering well. Solskjaer did reveal out last month, I think it was. He did reveal out last month, did Solskjaer, that, Paul Pogba was expected back some point in February. But obviously now that is not the case, because he isn't going to be playing against Chelsea tomorrow, like Solskjaer's confirmed. I think the earliest we are looking at Pogba being back is the Manchester derby. So hopefully he can be back for the Man City game. So Pogba is going to miss tomorrow's game against Chelsea. He's going to miss the Club Brugge game. Well, he's going to miss both legs against Club Brugge. He's going to miss Watford. He's going to miss Everton in the beginning of the month. So yeah, it's very, very disappointing in that, because when Paul Pogba does come back, it's very beneficial, because we look much better in that midfield when Pogba's there. But he's obviously at the moment, Paul Pogba is focusing on getting Manchester United back into the Champions League. Pogba's now, I think, in his final year of his contract, or he's heading into the final year of his contract, and we do have the option to extend his contract by a further year. Pogba's one of the highest paid players at the club. He's on, 290 grand a week at Man United in his current deal, and he's our most expensive signing, because we paid £89 million for him. Because we paid £89 million for Paul Pogba. But, some United fans will want to see him go in the summer, and some United fans would like him to stay. But we can afford to let Pogba go. Obviously, if we can get Maddison on the board and we can get Jack Grealish on the board, because we generate a substantial amount for his departure. Plus, it'll free up our wage bill a little bit, getting rid of Paul Pogba. So, yeah, that's the latest news regarding him. So, I think he's favourite to go to Juventus. I was also reading a few other reports as well, and it does now say Juventus are planning a £125 million package to sign Paul Pogba, and also they're willing to include Aaron Ramsey and Adrian Rabiot as part of the deal. So reportedly, this is what Juventus have offered. And obviously, before Juventus were willing to, let some of their players go as part of a deal to get Paul Pogba back to Turin. Real Madrid before did the same thing. They was trying to offer a couple of their players to get Paul Pogba to the Santiago Bernabeu. But looking likely, if reports are to be believed, that he will go to Juventus in the summer, will Pogba. Now I'm going to give you the latest news regarding Jadon Sancho from Borussia Dortmund. Now, there's quite a few clubs that have attracted their interest in Jadon Sancho. Reports were coming out yesterday. Chelsea have opened talks with Jadon Sancho over the summer transfer. So Chelsea are now, battling it out with, we're battling it out with Chelsea. Also, Liverpool, I think, are still in for the player. Don't forget, Real Madrid have recently expressed their interest. Now, it did say a couple of days ago we are emerged as the favourites to sign Jadon Sancho, because I think it did reveal out that he'd agreed to join Manchester United this summer, and also it said his preference was a move to Manchester United. It's very, very likely that he will be leaving Borussia Dortmund at the end of the season, will Sancho. But another main explanation why it said we are the favourites, because Chelsea signed Hakim Ziyech from Ajax. They've got him for the summer of Chelsea. They've paid around £38 million for him. But despite that, they've signed him. Chelsea are still want to get, Jadon Sancho this summer. They're also interested in Moussa Dembele and Jude Bellingham, Chelsea in that. But I'd love Jadon Sancho at Manchester United, like I mentioned before. Very, very good player. Obviously, he's going to cost in the excess of £120 million. I think, Borussia Dortmund did quote out that they want £100 million at least for the player. Obviously, Jadon Sancho scored in Borussia Dortmund's 4-0 win against Frankfurt, recently. But he's enjoyed a difficult season this season. He has been dropped in a lot of games as Sancho. I think in the 2 previous seasons, though, he's done very, very well. And I think analysing it, since his arrival in Germany, he has been a revelation. Jadon Sancho is predominantly a right winger, but he can also play in centrally. He is only, 19 years of age. And, Man United do want to continue the policy of recruiting young players in. And, he's a very, very good player, Jadon Sancho. He's also played in the Premier League, because he did serve a couple of years at Man City, but never really got his opportunities at Manchester. Well, he didn't get any first-team opportunities at Man City, so this is the reason why I left Man City to join Borussia Dortmund. Borussia Dortmund are going to make a huge profit on the player. They're going to make £112 or £130 million profit, because Dortmund only paid around £7 or £8 million for him from Manchester City. But he said that, a couple of days ago in Sky that it's likely he'll join Manchester United in the summer. But now Chelsea have stepped up their interest in the player. Lampard has got his first signing on the board for the summer, but obviously he wants to make furthermore investment in Chelsea's squad. And I did say, didn't I, if Man United, don't qualify for the Champions League this season, and it could be hard for us to get Jadon Sancho, because a player of that calibre obviously wants to be in Champions League football and stuff like that. And obviously Chelsea are in the Champions League. You did get it because they won the Europa League last season, so they got automatic qualification for the Champions League. And plus, they're in the top four now with Chelsea, so looking like, they're going to get into the Champions League for next season at Chelsea. But there's a few teams that are in, for Jadon Sancho. But if he was to come to Man United, I would be excited about the prospects of Jadon Sancho playing alongside the likes of Rashford, Dan James, Bruno Fernandes, Grealish and Maddison, if they were also to come in. I think he'd complement our attacking line very, very well, would the player. And yes, he really, really would. And it did say, the other day that we're willing to offer him a £200,000 a week contract. So it wouldn't only be our most expensive signing, would Sancho. It'd also be one of the highest paid players at the football club. But £120 million is a lot of money. And Man United are going to spend a substantial amount this summer on recruiting more players in. Obviously since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival, we have spent over £200 million on recruiting new players in, and we've brought 5 players in so far. Last summer Solskjaer brought Daniel James in for 15 million, brought Wan-Bissaka in for 50 million, and Harry Maguire in for 80 million. And in January we brought Bruno Fernandes in for 68 million pounds. He's our 4th most expensive signing. Bruno Fernandes, I think, will be making his second appearance tomorrow against Chelsea. I thought before the winter break he did fantastically well on his debut against Wolves, and I think he will be a great addition to the squad, Will Fernandes. We just need to keep in his predominant position, keep in that number 10, and I think we will see the best of the player. If he's playing as a holding midfielder, which isn't his predominant position, then he could become a liability. And of course, we've got Odion Ighalo in on loan until the end of the season. I don't know if Odion Ighalo will be making his debut tomorrow, because don't forget Solskjaer did confirm that he will be involved and he will make the trip to London. But he hasn't said, if Odion Ighalo will be making his debut tomorrow against Chelsea. But I think he is a good cover-up for Marcus Rashford, is Odion Ighalo, definitely. But, we need to make more signings this summer, definitely. We've got to make more signings because there's still deficiencies in the squad that need to be addressed. Solskjaer, I think, is planning on bringing 2 forwards in the summer. We need a right winger. We need another midfielder at least. Possibly we need a left back, because Luke Shaw's struggling for that consistency. And he's sustained a lot of injuries as a Man United player. I know that Brandon Williams is our first choice left back, and he's a much better solution, don't get me wrong, but he's only in his first season in the senior squad. So you can still say that Brandon Williams is inexperienced at the moment, which he is. Possibly need a centre-half, maybe, someone on Harry Maguire's level, and then we can use Lindelof as a backup. I know Harry Maguire's done well, mainly, but, we still seem to be conceding a lot of goals. So, yeah, there's still deficiencies in the squad that do need to be addressed, definitely in that. But, yeah, I can't estimate how much Man United have got. I know I can imagine that, we've got a hell of a lot of money. One of the richest clubs in the world, with massive revenues. And obviously, some players left, a lot of players have left since Solskjaer's arrival, and some of them players that left who have generated funds from their departures. Players are expected to leave this summer, so we are going to generate, more funds for their departures and that. But there is a lot of players on our agenda, and, Ed Woodward did confirm that Solskjaer will be back to more transfers this summer. And, he came out and defended the club's recruitment policy, but a lot of people have criticised the club's recruitment policy, as you all know and that. But, yeah. So now we'll delve into news regarding James Maddison, and then I'll give you a bit of news regarding Jack Grealish. So the news regarding James Maddison is that reportedly he wants the move to Manchester United, does James Maddison. I did say before, didn't I? I was very sceptical that we'll get James Maddison this summer, because it did say, the other week that I was closing in on signing a new contract with Leicester was James Maddison. I think he's got around 3 years left on his current contract at the moment as Maddison, around 3 years left on his current contract. It did reveal out if he is to sign this new contract, obviously he'll get a pay rise and there'll be no release clause included. James Maddison is in his 2nd season with Leicester. But I think he's been a revelation since his arrival from Norwich back in the summer of 2018. But this season he's replicating what he did in his debut season with Leicester. Last season James Maddison created more chances than any other player in the Premier League. He tends to play on the left quite a lot of times under Brendan Rodgers. He is only at the age of 23. And I would love Manchester United to get James Maddison in. I'd love to play, I would. Leicester paid £20 million in from Norwich in the summer of 2018. So I think Leicester can, if they do decide to sell him, they can get 3 times more than, the £20 million that they paid for him. Maybe they can get 60, maybe even £70 million for him. But Leicester know how much of an imperative player that James Maddison is. But I was reading reports and he said that James Maddison wants to move to Manchester United reportedly. This is what it had said. But yeah, I'd love Man United to bring him in because he dramatically improved our midfield and he's well proven in the Premier League. Still got a lot of years ahead of him, don't forget. But I think we've allegedly been in for James Maddison since June, But I think I don't think he's our number one priority target, but he's on our agenda. I think Jack Grealish is our number one priority target for the summer. Jack Grealish has also revealed that he wants to make the move to Manchester United this summer. Jack Grealish has made it clear he wants to come to Manchester United this summer. And I do like Jack Grealish a lot. Again, well Premier League proven. Up until this point, has spent the entirety of his career with Aston Villa as Jack Grealish. And he's done really, really well. I think it cost us around £45 million because that's his release clause in his contract with Aston Villa. I think he's still under contract with them until 2023. So he has still got around 3 years left on his contract. And it did say, didn't it, the other week, that he'd allegedly agreed personal terms with Man United ahead of a summer transfer. He was, searching for a house in Manchester. But yeah, again, he would dramatically improve, as would Jack Grealish. So if we're to get Sancho, Grealish and Maddison in the summer transfer window, they're going to cost us around £280 million. Sancho 120, and it said, it cost us around 160 for James Maddison and Jack Grealish. And that is a hell of a lot of money. And, a hell of a lot of money is being invested into the football club anywhere in the last 6 or 7 years. We spent, like I mentioned, we spent over 200 million under Solskjaer since he come in. We spent like £400 million under Jose Mourinho, or was it just under £400 million? He recommended 11 players into the club. The vast majority of his team is Jose Mourinho, so Solskjaer still inheriting them. Take that into account. Louis van Gaal spent a good £258 million at the club. He brought players like Di Maria, Falcao, Schneiderlin, Sebastian Schweinsteiger. Memphis Depay. All them players. He brought quite a few in. He did bring quite a few in. Louis van Gaal, Daley Blind, he's another one. There's obviously, still players here now from the Louis van Gaal area. Martial's still here, Luke Shaw's still here. So yeah, quite a lot of money was spent under Van Gaal. £67 million was spent under Moyes. He brought Juan Mata and Marion Fellaini in. Obviously, it didn't. Obviously, Fellaini's not here now. He endured 6 years at the club, did Fellaini. We paid over £27 million for him. Juan Mata's still here. Juan Mata now is into his 6th season at the club, and we paid around £40 million for him under David Moyes. I said Juan Mata's a good backup to Bruno Fernandes. And, we obviously spent money under Alex Ferguson. We did. But obviously, also on the other hand, Ferguson did develop a lot of young players. So it is nearly £1 billion, or it is £1 billion, including the wage bill, because we have got the highest wage bill in the Premier League. And I think we've recruited around 31 players in since the Alex Ferguson era. But yeah, a hell of a lot of money is being invested into the football club. And we're not in that commanding position that we should be in. Because where are we? We're in the league. We're sitting, 9th in the Premier League. We are 6 points behind top 4. The only main explanation why we're in that top 4 anywhere is because Chelsea have been so inconsistent. And, because Chelsea have been so inconsistent. But obviously, 5th place is Champions League now, so top 4 doesn't matter. But I'd still like anywhere Manchester United to finish in that top 4. And the game tomorrow probably will decide who finishes in the top 4 this season. That will currently decide it. And it will be a very, very tough game against Chelsea. Of course, we've got some injuries. Still, McTominay is recovering. He stepped up his fitness regime, but he's still out. Tuanzebe and Fosu Mensah were still out. despite the fact that they were all part of the warm weather training camp. Don't forget, we know Bay as well has just recently come back. Since he's come back, he hasn't played. But Man United have had a lot of injuries this season, but that's not excusable for how inconsistent Manchester United have been. It's not excusable at all. It isn't. And, hopefully as well we can get some silverware on the board this season. I hope we can win, the Europa League. That's another route to, Champions League football. Hopefully we can win the FA Cup, because we are into the 5th round of the FA Cup. Take that into account. So, yeah. But like I said, I think we need to see around 4 or 5 players leave in the summer. I think we need to get rid of, Jones, Matic, Lingard, Pereira, Chong, Luke Shaw, because I think they're all liabilities at the football club. Martial, if he doesn't if he continues his bad run of form, I would now put him back on the left-hand side. So these players that need to leave Man United. But on the other hand, there's still players I will be determined to keep at the football club. So, yeah. So anyway, guys, that's everything to update you with today. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always. And take care. God bless. See you all again very, very soon.